Thursday, and actually it is going to be my last lesson for at least until further notice. I know that the school year is getting ready to end. People are trying to catch up on work, and then we're going to lead into summer. Now, who knows what the fall will bring? And if that is the case, if we aren't going back to school right away, he's back up in August to your boys and girls continue to learn whatever they need to do. But today's lesson, it actually has a special theme to it. And at this time of the year, always in my classroom, I would do an activity to get ready for this coming Sunday. And this coming Sunday is very important to a lot of families because it is Mother's Day. And it's a day that we stop and we honor our mothers, our grandmothers, stepmothers, in our lives, or just maybe any woman in our life who has greatly impacted you. So I always do an activity, but this one I decided to do a little bit differently. And I've saved this book until this lesson on purpose to share because I was going through my things and I was like, okay, I know I'm going to want to do a Mother's Day activity. So I immediately grabbed this book, thought that this would be a good one to do to honor the hardworking women in our lives. But our lesson today, you will need, if you have blank paper, if possible, construction paper or computer paper. If you have a colored piece of construction paper, great. You will need a regular pencil. You'll need colored pencils, crayons, markers, whatever it is that you may have at your home to complete this activity and make it beautiful for your mother, which Mother's Day is Sunday. So this gives you an opportunity. We will do one together if you want to change it up, or if you want to do one for grandma, for stepmom, for aunt, for whoever it is in your life, please do so. But I am going to teach you today acrostic poetry. And acrostic poetry is another form of poetry that does not rhyme. I know that I talked to you about rhyme one time before. I've talked to you about haiku before. Well, this type of poetry is another very famous kind, and it can really be as descriptive as you want it to be. In fact, I always tell boys and girls, I have some rules when it comes to acrostic poetry that I will share with you, so that it can be done in the most descriptive and the prettiest language way as it can be. So while you're getting your materials, I will share with you the text for today to get our minds going. And this one is by Vera B. Williams, and it is a Caldecott Honor Book. So I told you a while back what the Caldecott Award was. It means that it was the best picture book of the year, the year that it came out. And this book came out in 1982. So it is an honor book. It is called A Chair for My Mother, which means it did not win, but it was considered. It was a finalist for the Picture Book of the Year award. So this is Vera B. Williams, A Chair for My Mother. And I definitely think many of us in our world today at home right now, who maybe mom is not only trying to work at home, but is also teaching at home. She is trying to keep track of everything at the house and really has taken on an extra role. And dads have too, of course. But this is a way, I love this book, and I think that it is one that we need to stop and think about how much the women in our lives really do for us. My mother works as a waitress in the Blue Tile Diner. After school, sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her Josephine gives me a job too. I wash the salts and peppers and fill the ketchups. One time I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and pays me. And every time I put half of my money into a jar. It takes a long time to fill a jar this big. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we push all of the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work. Sometimes she's so tired she falls asleep while I count the money out into piles. Some days she has lots of tips, but some days she has only a little. Then she looks worried. But each evening, every single shiny coin goes into the jar. So on those days where she doesn't make very much, she looks kind of thinking, uh-oh, maybe she's thinking of bills, groceries that she has to buy. We sit in the kitchen to count the tips. Usually Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts by the savings, and they go into the jar. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we are going to take out all the money and go buy a chair. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We're going to get the best chair in the whole world. That is because our old chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our other house. All our chairs burned, and so did our sofa, and so did everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. Pretty chair has roses on it. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals. She had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus, looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I liked the yellow ones. Then we came to our block. These are beautiful, colorful pictures, aren't they? Right outside our house stood two big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood at a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's Mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, she's here, she's okay, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her. But everything else in our whole house was spoiled. You can see there's the kitty. So the kitty was in a trash can hiding. Do you see the border around? It looks like a fire. And that's luckily, knock on wood is an old saying, for luck. I have never experienced a fire in my home before. I hope I never do. But I've heard that if the fire doesn't destroy everything, smoke and then the water can also destroy things. So it's kind of a mix of all three when there's a fire. What was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow. The floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought us his beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans and silverware and dishes. My cousin brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. "You are all the kindest people," she said. "We thank you very much. We're lucky we're young. It's lucky that we're young." and we can start all over. So do you think Mama is devastated at this time? Of course she is. She's upset. She doesn't know what to do. But she's being thankful, but she's also trying to put on that brave face. Have you ever heard somebody say that? Put on a brave face, meaning trying to keep your personal emotions on the inside so that you can be strong for someone else. And maybe she's being strong for her daughter. That was last year, but we still have no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home, her feet hurt. There's no big good place for me to take a load off my feet, she says. When Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut up potatoes, she has to get as comfortable as she can on a hard kitchen chair. So that is how come Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner, and all the coins started to go into that jar. Now the jar's too heavy for me to lift down. Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up so I could put it in. There's a dime. After supper, Mama and Grandma and I stood in front of the jar. Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full, Mama said. My mama brought home little paper wrappers for the nickels and the dimes and the quarters. I counted them all out and wrapped them all up. On my Mother's Day off, we took all the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus downtown to shop for our chair. So look at the border. It looks like money or dollar signs are in it. We shopped through 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and smaller ones, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and harder ones. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 bears trying out all the chairs. So I read 2 Goldilocks stories. If you did not hear those, go back and check them out. Rubia en los ojos and osos and Goldilocks and the 3 koalas, right? I just made a text-to-text connection, didn't I? Do it all the time. It's what good readers do. Finally, we found the chair we were all dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down in their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They knew we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. Which one do you think they got? Notice the roses, and we have seen it earlier in the book. I tried out our chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit in it while we carried it up to the door. There's the door and the kitty. Kitty has its paw out like, chair goes in here, please. Do you think the kitty wants the chair too? Nice soft place for it to sit? Probably. Kitties love soft places. Mine does. We set the chair right beside the window with the red and white curtains. Mama and Grandma and I all sat in it while Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and talks with people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. After supper, I sit with her, and she can reach right up and turn out the light if I fall asleep in her lap. And there's the end. There are the photos. So, 3 generations of women there, right? We have the little girl, we have Mama, and we have Grandma. So all 3 women were really the center of this, their relationship together. So, and that shows how a typical relationship is in families, isn't it? So what we're going to do today, we're going to work on acrostic poetry. And the thing with an acrostic poem is, number 1, it does not rhyme. So I'm going to move my board here so that we can see a bit better. So there's acrostic poetry. So we have some rules for it. First rule is choose a word or a phrase. That is going to be your topic / your title, okay? Your word or phrase is going to be your topic or title. Then you are going to write the word or phrase down the side of your paper. So I'm going to do an example for you here in just a minute, but we're just going to kind of line out the rules of what an acrostic poem is. And then the next thing is next to each letter, write a descriptive word or phrase describing the topic, but starting with the letter. So you might say, well, I'm not quite sure what that means. I will show you an example. It's very, very easy, and you'll figure it out once you see the first example. Now, maybe you have done a poem like this before. You maybe didn't remember what it was called, but once you heard these rules, you said, oh, okay, I remember that. I wrote one of these one time, I don't know, in second grade on the rainforest. We were studying that, and my teacher had me write something about the rainforest this way. So we are actually going to do one right now for Mother's Day. And I am just going to focus, because our text by Vera Williams was A Chair for My Mother. I am going to focus on the word mother. Now, most people in today's world probably don't call their mom mother. You know, you might say, my mother did this. Mother is kind of an old-fashioned word to address a mom. But in today's world, lots of people call their moms mom or mommy or mama. Sometimes I call my mom mama when I'm talking to her. So, but all of us, the official term for the woman who raised us or gave birth to us is mother. Now, let's say some of you watching say, well, I don't live with my mother. I live with grandma, or I live with my stepmother. Could you do one of these for grandma or for stepmom? Absolutely. Maybe you live with your aunt. You could do one for your aunt and write her name on there too. You can do one of these for any woman in your life. So here's the example that I'm going to give you. I'm going to go ahead and erase this because we will follow these rules as we do our poem. Now, I'm going to write it up here. I do have a blank piece of construction paper. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I could probably write this on here. So I'm going to take my paper here, and I'm going to try to scoot up as much as possible for you to be able to see it. And now I'm going to take my markers. I would strongly suggest for you at home to first write this in light pencil. You don't want to mess it up if you only maybe have one piece of blank paper, construction paper, and it could be any color, or it could be computer paper, whatever it is you have at home. If you don't have anything but lined paper, sure, you can use that and still decorate it. I know your mothers or grandmothers would absolutely love it. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to take a marker just so that you all can see it. And on the side, write my title. And that is MOTHER. So there's my mother word. Now, do you notice that I have written these letters all in capital letters? Because they are going to end up starting their own descriptive word or phrase over here. But I've written them as neatly as I can also. If you're going to give this as a surprise to your mom on Sunday, or use this as an example to write your own, come up with, you want it to be done as neatly as possible. Mom may want to keep this for a very long time. And maybe when you're an adult, she finds it and you come back and you look at it. So I have the word mother here. I am going to, each word or phrase that I come up with is going to describe the whole word mother. But each line will start with the word or the letter that is here. So the first line I'm going to come up with is an M. So I'm going to come up with a very good descriptive word. And I'm going to write it about my mom. Okay. When I think about my mama, I'm going to say, my mama smells like bath powder. Because she does. My mom loves to wear kind of fancy bath powder. She doesn't like perfume, but she likes perfumed powders. That's her thing. So anytime I smell, not just like regular old baby powder, I'm talking about expensive powder that some like makeup counters at department stores will sell. I think of my mom. My mama smells like bath powder. Now, this is an example for you. I'm writing it about my mom. Do I suggest that you write one for your mom, about your mom too? Yes. Okay, so my mama smells like bath powder. Now I have an O. I'm going to say, often likes to bake. My mom likes to bake. She doesn't really like to cook, but she likes to make made from scratch cakes and things for special occasions. So she really likes to bake things. She likes to bake banana bread and things like that. Okay, so T. Now, something that starts with a T that could be descriptive about her. Well, she she takes time to sew. My mom likes to sew things. And she has even sewn me like an apron that I keep in my classroom for if for some reason we're doing something very messy, I will wear it. I think it has like cartoon lizards on it that I will wear sometimes. I keep it hooked up on my board. So this again for T shows that it's something that she does. Now, could maybe one of these work for your own mother or your own grandma? Sure. But again, I'm writing this about my mom as an example. Your mom has things that she does too. So you just have to brainstorm that. Make it from you about her. Okay, so H. What could I write about for H? She has lots of plants and flowers. Now, my dad takes care of them too, but around my mom and dad's house, there are lots and lots of plants and flowers. And I love going to their house in the spring and summertime because it's so beautiful around with all of their plants and the potted plants. And she even has she has an orchid inside and things that she takes care of. Okay, so for E, I'm going to put down, everyone else comes first. Now that could be something for a lot of moms or a lot of grandmas or a lot of women in general. Lots of times, women naturally take care of other people. We're caregivers. Now, does that mean that men don't take care of others too? Absolutely not. There are amazing men in the world. But again, I'm focusing on mother because it's Mother's Day week. So everyone else comes first. Think about what your mom does for you. Is she taking care of you at home right now instead of focusing on maybe something that she needs to do for work? Is she making sure your materials are taken care of and your school work's in, and then she's doing her work after? It's very possible. Everyone else may come first. And for the last one for R, let's see. I'm going to say really. Really loves me. I know my mama does. My mama is one of my best friends. So I know my mom really loves me. Now, is it natural sometimes for you to maybe argue with your mom or someone in your family? Of course. You might disagree. You might say something sometimes that you wish you could take back or do something that hurts your mom or your dad or your brother or sister. But do you think that they still love you? Of course, because mamas really love you. And I know mine loves me too. So here is my acrostic poem about my mom. So now there is space here and here and here. And I love how Vera B. Williams illustrated this book. And I loved on every page, there was a different border. Did you notice that? Some of them had to do with what was going on. Here they were on a beautiful walk home. Do you notice the sun and the clouds? Here, though, after the fire, do you see the border? is burned flowers. So maybe the beautiful flowers that they were looking at, it's like they've become burned. And now the flowers are regrowing because of the love from the community. So I am going to make a little border around this, kind of in the style of the book A Chair for My Mother here. And it doesn't have to be anything major. Maybe you know your mom's favorite color. Maybe your mom's favorite color is purple. Could you color a purple border around it? Of course. Maybe you know her favorite thing in the world are flowers. So maybe you just decorate it by putting some flowers around it. Maybe you just want to draw some hearts around it. So I'm going to put some little hearts around. Like that. I could color them in. And I can do that all the way around if I want. I could do each side a different way if I wanted. And then if I want to, if there's other room, could I draw other pictures on this too? Yeah, you can do that also. So that's what I have for today. And as I end, I'm going to say one more time, I hope that in the past month and a half, 6 weeks that I have done this, that it has helped you. That was my goal. That's all I wanted, was if I helped 1 or 2 boys and girls a day, that was enough for me. Because if 1 or 2 boys and girls got some information that they needed, kept their brains working, then I'm happy. So thank you for watching. I strongly suggest, if you need to go back and watch any of these are still on my Facebook page. Just scroll down, find them. They are also on my YouTube page, Margie Vertrees. So I will see you again, hopefully at some point soon. And until then, I will say, toodaloo poodles, goodbye.